Welcome back to the Rough and Ready Rancher. Today we're going to teach you how to plant heirloom seeds in canvas bags instead of buying pots. They're a little bit less expensive, well actually quite a bit less expensive, but you can do the same thing in a 5-gallon bucket. This is an old 5-gallon bucket that I could put a tomato plant in here if I wanted to, or anything else. So it just depends on what you have around your house. But when I heard about these canvas bags that I bought online, the reviews were just amazing. So when I used to live in Florida, I could only grow certain things because the soil there is all sand. But I found that with a sandy soil, you could grow greens amazingly well. And so when I came back and moved to Idaho, we had different soil. It wasn't sandy at all. And I couldn't grow certain things like I could in Florida. So I decided that when I bought these bags, I was going to put a third sand in the bottom. And then I was going to put some potting soil next. And then I was going to mix it all up. And so I'd have something like what I had in Florida. And I did that when we were living in Arizona for the winter, and my crop was just amazing. So we'll show you little pictures a little bit later of how that turned out. Okay, so we're going to start out with some sand in the bottom, and the sand's a little bit wet because we just went down and got it off the riverbed. So we're filling this up with sand, and I've got about 1/3 of the bottom of it filled with sand. And then we're going to add some potting soil next. That looks pretty good. I'm really good at making a mess, you know. Now I'm just mixing it up. Wish I had a mixer, you know. Works great in the kitchen, but anyways, it's coming along. I'm going to get a little bit of that sand mixed in with that potting soil. And then we're going to add, now when I was in Arizona, I didn't add anything else other than some natural fertilizer and epsom salts. But today we're going to add a little bit of manure because I happen to have some that we got. So there we go. It's nice and mixed up really good. And now we're going to put a little bit of manure in it. Probably get this all over the place. Ah, some nice rich manure. Manure can be your best friend, you know, because it can do amazing things when you're planting stuff. Ah, this is just wonderful stuff. And it's composted and all right, getting it nice and mixed up in here. Ready to lose that here. Yep, those little seedlings, they love manure because that's food for them. All right, it's getting really nice and mixed up in there. Now what's best is if you can fill these buckets up really close to the top, because when it's closer to the top, it gets more sunlight. If it's not near the top, it's going to be shaded by the edge of this bag or your bucket, depending on what you use. Okay, so I'm trying to get a little bit more of this compost in here. It's getting really good. Okay, now I wanted to let you know that if you buy your seeds in some of the stores, there's no guarantee that they're not really old seeds, you know, like several years old. Or I like to buy my seeds online just because I know when I buy them online, they want to keep their reputation, and so they have everything that was at least harvested from that fall before you start planting in the spring. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm patting it down, getting it all packed down good and solid. because we're going to plant some seeds in here. And I don't know if you can see how I'm doing that very well. I'll kind of roll this flap down a little so you can kind of see it. There we go. So I have these little seeds, and I'm gonna plant some lettuce. And I usually just take my finger and just put a little hole. And you want your lettuce to, you know, lettuce can be kind of big, so you don't want your seeds to be put in the soil very close together, maybe about 5 inches apart. I usually put one in the middle because this is a round container, and then I kind of space them all around the outside. And so I'm going to do that. And then after we're done with that, I'll be right back. Okay, we planted the seeds and we've spaced them about 5 inches apart in here. And before we planted them though, we wet the soil a little bit so that you wouldn't have to worry about spraying too much water on top of the soil we put on top of those seeds. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. It's already wet and I've packed it all down and it's good and wet in there. And then we're gonna put some soil on top of those seeds and just kind of lightly sprinkle it around, and then we're going to pack it all down like this. And that way when you get ready to water these new seedlings, they've got wet soil underneath, and then we're going to just sprinkle it, kind of mist spray the top to saturate that top soil that you just sprinkled on there. And then that should give it some time to germinate, and you can leave this outside. You want to plant this time of year when it's nice and cool still. You can actually plant these kind of seeds in the fall and start having a winter garden. And most winter crops, they seem to do okay even when there's a good hard frost. You might see the tips of your leaves of your lettuce or carrots or your cilantro or your onions or spinach, whatever. And those are cold crops because they like cold weather. Your warm crops are like your corn and your squashes and eggplants and peppers and tomatoes. Those are all warm crops. But we're working on the cold crops. And you can do this for your warm crops in the summertime when the weather warms up more, so you can plant them. Okay, so we've got it all planted, and now we're just going to mist it and just hope it starts to germinate. And what else? I guess that's it. Oh, periodically you might want to fertilize, especially if it's like carrots that take much longer for your crop. And oftentimes what I do with that is just get a natural 10-10-10 fertilizer and just sprinkle it on top, but you want to water it in so that that fertilizer doesn't stay on top of the leaves of the plant, or else it might burn it. And something that I did last winter, I only had Epsom salts. Epsom salts turns anything that's green even greener, and it makes it even healthier. I use Epsom salts on my tomatoes and my lettuce and my cilantro, and you can put it on just about anything. But I have found that hostas don't seem to like it as well. Now, for those of you that don't want to start your plants from seed and you want to just buy your plants from the store and put them in bags and grow them that way, you certainly can. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that as well. So I've found these at the local store, and I've got my bag full. It's got part sand, part manure, and part potting soil. And I'm just going to kind of dig a little hole, and usually what I do is I rough up these little roots on the outside to let them know you're going to be in a whole different house now, and you're going to be planted right in a little hole. And I plant them about 3 inches from the outside of this bag. I don't know if you can see that, but there's that first one. And we'll plant that all the way around the outside, and I'll put one right in the center. And I've got one that I'm going to do just my red leaf lettuce, and another one I'm going to do my green leaf lettuce. And that'll hold me over until my seeds have germinated to produce more salad stuff. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is once you have planted your lettuce crop or your cilantro or your spinach, those crops can be cut and harvested only and continue to harvest more after you've cut them if you continue to water your plants. So what I recommend is when you cut your lettuce, let's say, you cut it about 1 inch above the soil line. And then that way you're preserving the plant, and after it's cut off and you keep watering it, it'll grow a whole nother head of lettuce. And you can do that with cilantro and spinach and all kinds of lettuces. And so we'll plant this last one in here so we can start getting fed and watered. And there's our little garden that's already starting. It's getting close to being ready to harvest. While we were in Arizona, we had 5 of these bags, and we had so much salad starts that we were feeding all of our neighbors. We just had way too much to just feed my husband and I. So anyways, good luck with your bag gardening. There you have it.
She walks through the corn, leading down to the river. Her hair shone like gold in the hot morning sun. She took all the love that a poor boy could give her and left me to die like a fox on the run.